We have a question from our studio audience today. What do you do when your wife's upset? Well, it depends why she's upset. Some guys will say, well, there's no reason she's upset. She's just upset. And maybe that's true, or maybe you just did something to upset her and you don't realize you did it or don't want to admit it. But the worst thing to say, and most men want to say this to pacify their wives, you shouldn't be upset, which sounds like, okay, you're not validating my feelings because I am upset and I want you to validate them. So, first thing men have to understand is that women are different. You probably noticed that, but they're way more different emotionally in many ways. And so sometimes men are trying to figure things out and they're thinking, well, she should be this way instead of this way, because if she were this way, that will be better. But you're thinking in terms of yourself. If I was like this, it would be better than I'm like this. So then you go tell your wife, basically, you should just be a man, and this is what I would do in this situation, so that's what you should do. And that makes it like 5 times worse. So you have to be very accepting of how a woman processes things, because as you get to know women, you see they process it much differently. And so the problem is not accepting the way they process it. So if a woman is upset, don't fight with the upset. Just say, realize if you made a mistake, I'm sorry, or what can I do to help you, or just listen, or just be there and don't say anything. That's the best you can do. And so this is what it means to be a husband. Now, a lot of men are thinking, but I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't want to do that, don't get married. And if you are married, well, it's too late to not want to do that, because these are the things you need to do to keep your wife happy, because it's part of your job description is to keep your wife happy. And if you say, I don't want to do that, but you can't say that now, because you can't quit your job. You're already hired. So for many men, these things are difficult because they're not used to doing it. They don't have that nature to do it. But these are things you have to learn to make it work. Because as we said in another video, or as we're going to say in a future video, that this shanti in the home is very important, to create this environment where kids grow up in a really peaceful atmosphere where they see their parents get along. It's so important. And it's so important for you to get along, because when you don't get along, you just become discouraged, depressed, angry, and it just deteriorates your consciousness. So the message is, do what you have to do to keep your wife happy, as long as obviously it's within the principles and practices of Krishna consciousness. And don't fight it, because they just think and process things differently. And the more you understand that, the easier it is to deal with. And it doesn't have to make sense to you. Just accept this is how it is. That's where the men get trapped. But it doesn't make sense. It may not make sense. It may never make sense. But it is, so you don't have to make sense out of it. You just have to deal with it.